Hey guys, Stealth here, welcome to Wargame, where today I have a rather special game for you. This was sent in by AMG12, and he is a moderator or the moderator of one of the Asia US EU servers. This one's called the All Tanks T72B1 server, and as the name indicates, player decks are overwritten. The only units that you're getting are T72B1s, supply, and recon jeeps, and that's it. And yes, as you can see, here and there we have some fobs, as of course the command vehicles. But that's it. So Blue 4 is not as blue as it used to be, where Blue 4 now has T72B1s, and Red 4 has exactly the same units, T72B1s and UAZ 469 KPV jeeps. So, what makes this interesting? Well, first of all, you don't have to worry about airstrikes. So you're all trying to keep your tanks alive, trying to get most guns on target, trying to keep the angles of the armor in the proper direction to make sure that you don't instantly get deleted with your tank. And of course the T72B1 does not have to worry about HEGMs since they don't carry those. And since this is the only tank that you can field in this deck, that should make life quite a bit easier. So we have here Mudfight, 10v10. I was going to say 10v10 tactical, and in a way it is, because it's a tactical game of a whole different magnitude, where you're constantly trying to use one vehicle very tactically and work together with the group very well, because the more guns you can get on target the better. And that's basically all you have to do. There's not a whole lot that you need to pay attention to other than the 2 or 3 units that you're controlling. AMG mentioned that he's still trying to experiment with what mode is the most fun. Right now people are getting, or as a team, 2300 starting points, which means it's enough for one tank. But he's testing it out with 2 tanks and reconnaissance supplies. With 3,000 starting points. That's 2 tanks and recon or supply. Anyway, we're following a random player here. We have Verona. As you can see, he has 1 recon, 1 T-72, 1 command vehicle, and that's it. That's all we have cash for. As you can see on the map, we already have communication going up with AMG-12. Actually, I can follow AMG-12 here, since he sent it in. Let's follow him. He has the recon, the tank, the UAZ, and the Ural. He says main groups here and main groups here. Let's see how these things function. Now the T-72B1, in case you forgot about its stats, 18 AP gun, 15 frontal armor, so this tank is fully capable of penetrating another T-72B1 up front. Ugh, warships. So what you need to do is try to get as many guns onto a target, so onto a single tank as possible, and at the same time vision, recon is key here. You need to know where the tanks are. So that's why they have all of those UAZ 469s. Let's see, the accuracy on these tanks at 50% is decent, 40% stabilized, so you could argue, well, I'm going to try and take shots on the move, which you can do, but that opens you up to a significant chance in missing your targets. Let's see, where's AGM's tank? I have a couple of them. Oh, this one's almost down. His tank's fully held up. You're going to have to really coordinate with your teammates here in order to try and keep your tank alive and not have somebody sitting back, sniping. But in this case you need to be, forgive the pun, literally tanking the damage. So in this case you could argue that AGM needs to push up, because the other T-72 is not full health. It can still take a few hits, but of course you'd rather have the tank with the best health as well as the best veterancy at the front line. Oh, he's exposing his side here. We have another T-72B1 on the right. So far, blue has killed 1 tank and red has killed 1 recon, and that's it. They're still dancing around each other, trying to get the advantage. On the left flank, you can see them digging in. Sorry about that. You can see them digging in, the T-72B1s with a bunch of recon. We have another couple ones flanking here, or at least trying to. But of course, if they can be moving across the open, they will be spotted by these recon jeeps that are parked somewhere in this tree line. For now, the action seems to be taking place here, where we have quite a few tanks in here. And if you have a tank fight this close to each other, that is going to lead to some high damage rolls. Of course, the closer you get to a target, the more damage you will do to it. And that could potentially wipe out a weaker tank in one shot. And by weaker tank, I mean a tank that's already been hit. Looks like they're just trading shots here, but as he's trading shots, he's also opening himself up to the side here, which fortunately only has a recon jeep. But there is a T-72B1 over here. Now you could argue that the T-72B1 is quite reliant on its reconnaissance, because it does carry medium optics, but I think that might not be enough. And by that I mean if you have a tank which has medium optics, or you have a tank which has medium optics and a good spotter, so something like the good optics on the UAZ, then you can fire first. Firing first in a situation like this could mean the advantage. Now interestingly, the game has been running for about 5 minutes, and we have just a very small amount of kills here. We have 85 points for Alvo and a few recon jeeps here and there, and that's it. They're still ducking and weaving between each other's shots. Another thing that you need to keep in mind about a game mode like this is that it can be a touch RNG, in the sense that you have these critical hits, which is not something you can influence. If your tank gets hit and it loses optics, or it gets hit and it gets a stabilization failure, then that puts you at a severe disadvantage. So what you need to do then is pull back, ask another teammate to take the front line, tank for a little bit while you're taking your vehicle back to repairs, and wait for the vehicle to get that health back, to fix the critical failure, and just to hold the line. Talking of holding the line, Verona's T-72B1 has taken a battering over here. It's barely getting out. 1 hit point left. The other T-72B1s on the enemy team seem to be doing alright. Let's see, these guys are still skirmishing back and forth a little bit. Another miss. T-72B1s carry 28 rounds, and normally I don't think they would go through that ammunition, but in a situation like this, you definitely can. Now see, something like this is pretty shitty for Plu84 over here. Fire computer reset, which means that he will not be able to use that tank very effectively. He has to withdraw it. So far it seems that Blue has taken out one other T-72B1. Now I'm not sure about the income. I don't know how much they are getting in the sense of points, and if it's possible to buy another tank. I am seeing, yep, they can do it. They can bring in new tanks. So we have Charles Martel as well as Verona bringing in new tanks. So if you have enough points, you can bring in reinforcements, but still, you gotta keep those tanks alive. Of course, the longer they're alive, the more likely it is that they'll get a hit, and of course a kill, which boosts their veterancy and makes the whole tank more efficient. So veterancy in a game mode like this becomes much more valuable. I don't really know. Oh, actually he's blind firing. Yep, and he's blind firing at a command vehicle, flushing it out, and Jared's forced to retreat his UAZ. On the left, I was going to say blue 4, but that doesn't really apply. On the left, Team 1 has pushed through, taken over all the terrain here, and taken over the cap zone. Delta, same thing. Alpha, they're still working on it. But so far, it looks like these guys are forced to withdraw. See, this is even worse. Weapon jammed. He's not going to be able to fire at all for the next 30 seconds. We keep out of range, problem solved. No rush, we got it. You can see there's more communication going up here than normal. Normally you see some attack markers here and there, and of course the one thing that I am missing is the chat, which I wouldn't be surprised carries a whole host of cues and clues to where enemy positions might be. But you can see more attack markers going up. People are trying to coordinate their attacks. We have another tank on the run here. I think it was a tank anyway. Now, I think a game mode like this, I was thinking about this earlier, would it make for a good training instrument? I'm not entirely certain, so that's what I want to have a discussion about in the comments section below. Do you think that a game mode like this would be useful for training up newer players? On the one hand, I'd say yes, because you can focus on one unit, you can focus on learning the armor values, on seeing how penetration works, seeing the importance of reconnaissance and resupply. And then there's the downside, because unless you're only playing tacticals, you're going to have more, and in some cases much more to manage than just one tank. You're going to have a lot of units on the front line, and if you start out with this, then you could argue, well, you might develop good micro skills, but what about your macro skills? Can you manage multiple units? So, what do you think? Would this be a good instrument to train up rookies? Or is it just some fun mode and should you not bother with it too much? Anyway, in case you want to play something like this, have a look at AMG12's servers. He said that this is Asia, US, EU 10, and I believe that it will say in the description, so in the TeamSpeak, the server designation, what sort of gameplay you can be expecting. So this one is the T72B1 server, all tanks, and he's known for coming up with all sorts of different fun modes, as I have featured, I believe, quite a few of them already on the server. And that's another thing that you can post in the comments. If you have a good idea for a fun game mode, and you think, hey, how would this play out? Would this be a good idea? We could always try. We could ask AMG12 to host a server like that, and see if it is fun to play a game like that, where, for example, you only have helicopters, or you only have a specific type of infantry, or I don't know. Come up with something fun. Post it in the comments down below, and let's have a good run. Because while I very much like Wargame in its standard form, I definitely enjoy these odd duck games, where it's a nice and refreshing experience from the standard managing the units, taking positions and moving up. Because now you have to think about recon, you have to think about your armor, you have to think about logistics, and that's it. It's nice and relaxing. It's not so much nice and relaxing for Team 2 at the moment, as they are getting completely overrun. We have a couple units flanking the sides here, and since their main spawn zone is already neutralized, this game is going to be over rather quickly. I would not recommend taking shots at the fob, but instead capturing it. We have seen already that I think half the team is leaving, or has left. There we go. There's another one. A couple more shots going in. Oh, that's a UAZ that's escaping. Alright, let's speed this up. There's another one down. There's another UAZ, and they got it. So they're spawning in tanks from behind, and with a little bit of a slugfest, this game's about to be up. There's another one, there's another one. The game ends, wow, almost 2200 versus 400. What do you think that came down to? I think that came down to teamwork, to communicating, focusing fire on one specific vehicle, and making sure that vehicle goes down. So, shorter match than usual, and it was mostly to highlight this unusual game mode. Again, if you have any good ideas for a game mode like this, let me know in the comments down below, and I'll make sure that AMG gets it. If you have any ideas on whether this would make a good training instrument, then I wonder what sort of arguments you can make for that, both pro and con. So let me know about those down in the comments as well. And of course, if you like the channel, then please consider becoming a Patreon so I can keep making these videos for you guys. And with that, that's the end of the video, so thank you for watching, I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you soon for more Wargame.